The Millionaire's blind children were transformed by a maid's shocking act that no one saw coming. In the affluent heart of Westwood, California, a mansion loomed like a castle, a fortress of secrets wrapped in marble and gold. Inside, whispers danced through the air. Emily and Christopher, the Millionaire'S blind twins, were locked away, their world drenched in darkness that no amount of wealth could brighten. But today, something electric thrummed in the air, a jolt of change hovering just out of reach. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting an orange glow against the mansion's opulent walls, Clara, the maid, moved with quiet determination. Her eyes sparkled with mischief, a stark contrast to the somber silence that filled the grand home. She had been with the family for years, yet no one noticed the subtle shifts in her demeanor, the way her smile would linger just a heartbeat too long. Then it happened. In the midst of the evening's mundane routine, a piercing scream ricocheted off the marble. The twins, sitting in their plush, velvet chairs, jolted at the sound. It was Clara, her voice trembling. "You won't believe what I found." For a moment, silence blanketed the room, thick enough to cut through. Emily and Christopher strained to hear, their senses heightened like a cat ready to pounce. The tension escalated. "What is it?" Christopher called out, urgency dripping from his voice. As he reached for his sister's hand, their breaths mingled in the heavy air, the faint sound of Clara's footsteps echoed ominously. She approached slowly, each step a drumbeat of anticipation. "You need to trust me. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Clara's voice dropped to a whisper, charging the atmosphere with a dangerous thrill. "I found a way, to help you see." The words hung like a promise in the air. Emily's heart raced, a sudden tightness clenching around it. Could this really be a lifeline thrown into their dark abyss? Christopher's eyes widened, filled with a mixture of hope and dread. "What do you mean?" he pressed, leaning forward, the weight of his expectations threatening to crush him. The tension in Clara's shoulders was palpable, as if she were carrying a secret too heavy to bear. The moment stretched, thickening, tugging at their very souls. Then came the question that would change everything: "Are you ready to take a risk?" The room fell silent, and the world outside faded. The four walls closed in, conspiratorial shadows cloaked them. What could it mean? And what would this shocking act lead to? As they stood at the precipice of transformation, an unspoken agreement formed among them, heavy with possibilities. But would they have the courage to step into the light, or would the shadows hold them captive forever? Without allowing a moment to slip through her fingers, Clara finally crossed the threshold. "I have a device," she whispered, her voice a breathless rush as if it bore the weight of the heavens. "It can stimulate your optic nerves. It could bring light into your world." A quick intake of breath echoed through the room. Emily let out a small gasp, her mind racing with disbelief and hope. Could it be possible? Christopher's pulse quickened as he tightened his grip on Emily's hand. "And you want us to use it now?" he asked, trepidation hanging like a heavy fog in the air. Clara stepped closer, her presence like a flame flickering in the dark. "Yes. But it's risky. It might not work, or it might change everything." The weight of her words simmered between them. "Change everything," Emily echoed softly. The notion sent tremors through her heart. What if they could see, but as a price, the darkness they'd always known was no longer their comfort? Or worse, what if they couldn't handle the light? What if it revealed truths best left hidden? Clara blinked, sensing their hesitation. "This opportunity doesn't come twice," she cautioned, urgency creeping into her voice. "You have to decide right now. Trust me, just a little bit longer. Silence enveloped them, thick and oppressive. Every second felt like a lifetime, swirling with possibilities that hung in the balance. Emily's mind raced, clawing at the edges of her fear. What if we don't like what we see? She finally whispered, gnawing at the raw vulnerability bubbling beneath the surface. And if we never try, will we remain trapped in our shadows forever? Christopher argued, a fierce determination now igniting his spirit. Clara nodded, pressing her lips together, almost as though biting back a tempest of emotions. You must make a choice, today. I can bring the device. But only you can make the leap. The twins exchanged an electric glance, a language only they shared. They felt the weight of each other's fears, their anxieties coiling around them like a protective barrier. But could they bear to stay in darkness, cloaked in the certainty of nothingness? Let us do it, Emily said, her voice steady, breaking through the tumult. Let us see. They weren't just seeking light, they sought freedom, the desires locked away in the corners of their minds. Clara's smile widened, a glimmer of dark excitement sparking in her eyes. All right, then, she said, speaking like a conductor preparing an orchestra for the grandest of symphonies. But I need you both to promise me whatever happens, you'll stand together. The twins nodded in unison, a bond forged through their shared adversity. Clara moved briskly towards the door, her excitement palpable, urging them to follow. She led them to a hidden chamber, deeper in the mansion's labyrinthine corridors. It felt like they were sneaking into secrets long buried, hearts pounding like wild drums in their ears. Inside, strange machinery flickered to life, casting shadows that danced erratically on the walls. Clara's hands moved deftly, setting things up while Emily and Christopher exchanged uncertain glances. Breathe, Clara instructed, her voice now a soothing melody among the chaos. This will open new horizons or it will hold you captive. But either way, it's time to decide. As they stared at the intricate contraption, the unknown looming before them, every breath held a world of tension. And then it happened. With a sudden snap, a glow filled the room, blinding and otherworldly, a light so intense that it felt like it was pulling them into its depths. In that heartbeat, time stood still. What awaited them on the other side of that light, the thought was dizzying and terrifying. What if they were about to tumble into something they couldn't control? Just as the world around them began to blur, Clara's voice cut through the tension, "Get ready." And just like that, they crossed into the unknown. But what fate awaited them? Would this leap into the light set them free or trap them in an even darker nightmare? The brilliance of the light enveloped them, swallowing every shadow whole. Emily felt a jolt shoot through her spine, a tingling sensation that spread from her fingertips to her toes. It was as if her entire being was unhinging, unraveling in the folds of brilliant illumination. "Hold on!" Christopher shouted, but the sound got swallowed by the swell of light. Everything shifted, and Emily couldn't tell where she ended and the light began. Suddenly, with a violent thrust, darkness crashed back in like a heavy curtain, smothering the blinding glow. Emily gasped, taking in a new reality. A surreal, shadowy landscape materialized in front of them. The world looked garbled, like a cracked mirror reflecting whispers of a past life. Colors blended together, twisting into swirls and smudges that taunted her senses. "Is this it?" Christopher's voice trembled nervously. Did we fail?" Clara hovered nearby, her silhouette barely discernible amid the haze. "No," she said, her tone edged with awe. "Not yet. Trust your instincts." But as confusion washed over the twins, doubt crept in like a dark fog. Emily squinted into the consuming murk, desperately searching for clarity. It felt like being lost in a forest during a storm, disoriented and afraid. "What is happening?" she murmured, her heart pounding a frantic rhythm against her chest. "Just focus," Clara urged, her voice a rope thrown to them in turbulent waters. "Reach out." As if compelled by an unseen force, Emily stretched her hand out to her brother. The moment their fingers touched, a rush surged through them, an electric shock that lit every nerve. The shadows around them shifted, swirling faster, pulling back as if revealing a hidden door. The fog deepened, yet threads of vision began to form. Shapes materialized from the void, blurred figures moved within the darkness, mere shadows of themselves. Emily's heart raced with a cocktail of terror and exhilaration. "Christopher, can you see them?" she gasped, every word laced with urgency. "Not like I should," he replied, his tone frantic. "It's like watching a movie with all the wrong frames." Clara stepped closer, her figure sturdy against the chaotic backdrop. "Concentrate on what you feel," she encouraged, her voice unwavering. "You have the power to shape what you see. Just believe." Emily's doubt twisted tighter in her chest. But then she remembered the years of living without. Years in shadowy silence where hope felt like sand slipping through her fingers. "I want this," she breathed. "I want to see, to really see." As those words hung in the air, the shadows began to converge, coalescing into forms she recognized, whispers of familiar faces, loved ones long unseen yet not forgotten. Their ethereal presence wrapped around her like an embrace, filling her with warmth. "Emily! Christopher!" Their imagined voices called out, swirling around them, inviting them into the fragments of memories, fragments of their past. "Come to us." But in that rush of joy, a voice deep and growling reverberated through the void, chilling her to the bone. "You do not belong here," it said. "This light reveals, but it also consumes." A visceral shudder ran down Emily's spine. The shadows darkened once more, swirling ominously. She could feel the sinister pull, a gnawing dread at the edges of her newfound vision. "Clara! What is happening?" she cried, panic setting in as the beautiful shapes twisted into grotesque forms. "You must fight against it," Clara shouted, breaking through the turmoil. "It's the light's curse. Darkness seeks to hold you back. But you are stronger." The weight of every fear, every regret, pressed heavily against them. Yet, grasping onto her brother and Clara, they steadied themselves together. A fierce determination ignited within them. Straining against the pull, they envisioned the love that brought them here, every connection igniting courage, but as the light flickered above them and hope clashed with despair, Emily realized something greater loomed on the horizon, an unsettling truth yet to be uncovered. What if the very light they sought was hiding something even darker beneath its surface? Would the light truly set them free, or would it unleash nightmares they couldn't even begin to comprehend? Emily's heart thrummed wildly as the shadows began to twist and churn, forming unsettling figures that loomed closer. She squeezed Christopher's hand tighter, each squeeze a silent plea for strength. The once familiar faces of loved ones morphed into unsettling visages, eyes glazed with despair. Were these echoes from their past or figments meant to deceive? "Concentrate," Clara urged again, her voice strained. The darkness seemed to pulse with malice, feeding on their uncertainty. Every breath felt heavier, suffocating under the weight of hidden fears. Then, with a sudden jolt, a memory broke loose, a smile, a laugh. Their mother's warm embrace sparkled like sunlight breaking through the clouds. "Think of her," Christopher shouted, his eyes wide. "We can control this." Emily focused, her mind swirling with images of home, laughter, and warmth. "Mom," she whispered, and in that moment, a wave of light surged forth, like a beacon cutting through the fog. It was tentative at first, but as she envisioned every detail of their family, the shadows receded slightly, shifting from grotesque forms to flickering images of love and memories. However, the growling voice returned, reverberating ominously. "You cannot escape the darkness. It feeds on your despair. It knows your secrets." The sound resonated, shaking the very ground beneath them. "Keep fighting," Clara shouted again, her feet firmly planted. "We can't let it win." But doubt gnawed at Emily. The voice was right, it saw them, saw their fears. What if everything they had done had been for nothing? What if this relentless darkness was more a reflection of their own hearts than an external threat? Don't listen to it. Christopher yelled, sounding desperate. It's trying to turn us against ourselves. And just like that, Emily felt an inkling of panic rising like bile in her throat. She recalled nights spent wrestling with shadows in her own soul, fears of inadequacy creeping up like vines, threatening to choke the joy from her life. We're not alone, she reminded herself, gripping Christopher's hand even tighter. We have each other. In an act of defiance, she shouted, no. This isn't who we are. The shadows shrieked angrily, a vortex of despair swirling around them. Emily pushed the fading light of hope to the forefront, envisioning the moments that defined them, not just fear, but resilience, love, and courage. A radiant burst of brightness erupted, illuminating the darkness momentarily. She gasped as familiar figures, their mother, friends, moments of joy surged forth, pushing the shadows back, their smiles sharpening the edges of her vision. But as the light glimmered brighter, the growling voice roared with fury, shaking the ground. You will regret this. You cannot escape your fate. The shadows thrashed violently, reeling from the light. Emily felt energy returning, coursing through her veins, igniting a fierce determination. Yet beneath that glorious glow, something deeper lingered, an unsettling truth that wouldn't let her go. If they managed to break through now, what terrifying secrets awaited in the light? Were they ready to face not just the dark but the truths hidden in its depth? What if Clara's voice wavered, uncertainty creeping in? What if we're not meant to confront this alone? As the darkness loomed once more, Emily locked eyes with Christopher. They had to make a choice, but a terrifying question loomed over them: could they confront the shadows within without losing themselves in the process? Would they become what the darkness feared, or were they destined to join its shadows for eternity? A chilling silence enveloped the group as they stood, teetering on the edge of hope and despair. The vibrant light flickered above them, battling against the encroaching shadows, but the growling voice persisted, wrapping around them like a noose. Emily turned to Clara, her eyes filled with questions. Are you okay? Christopher's voice broke through the storm, the concern etched on his face as he searched for clarity in Clara's uncertain gaze. I don't know. Clara replied, her voice trembling. What if we really can't do this alone? What if it takes all of us? Emily felt a flicker of fear. Could they risk breaking apart now? With the darkness swirling, every subtle movement felt like a betrayal of their tenuous unity. We don't have time to doubt. She shouted, bolstering her courage. We need one another, now more than ever. We face this together. The shadows responded to her words, lashing out like angry serpents, hungry to drag them back into despair. She gritted her teeth, determined not to falter. Suddenly, she felt tingles of something warm spreading through her, connecting her with Christopher and Clara. Let us do this. Christopher proclaimed, gripping their hands fiercely. As they joined hands, strange energies began to pulse. The warmth intensified, the glow of their combined strength clashing against the shadows. Fragments of laughter, embers of past joy ignited the recesses of memory, and slowly, they summoned the courage to face their darkest fears. Think of the moments that matter. Clara shouted as she closed her eyes, her heart racing. Visualize what you want to protect. But the growling voice morphed, growing louder and more menacing. You think you can shield yourselves? Secrets, regret, they are woven into the fabric of your souls. Emily's stomach twisted at the words. How could it know? A dark pit opened in her chest as shadows danced at the edge of her mind, flickering through her memories like ghostly fingers teasing old wounds. Visions of lost friendships, broken promises, and fears that had haunted her were all laid bare. Christopher flinched, drawing her attention back. Don't listen to it. It's manipulating our memories. His face was pale, but determination burned in his eyes. Focus on the good. Focus on Mom. The weight of their mother's love surged through Emily, pushing back against the encroaching darkness. She thought of the times they'd laughed, of family dinners and warm hugs. Those memories floated before her like vibrant balloons, illuminating the chaos surrounding them. With a collective cry, they shouted, "We choose love." As the light enveloped them, rising to meet the shadows with defiance. But then, through the chaos, a whisper sliced through the air like a knife, "You can run, but your sins will always find you." The voice coiled around them, sending shivers down Emily's spine. Without warning, the floor beneath them shuddered. Shadows writhed and twisted, clawing at their ankles, threatening to swallow them whole. And suddenly, darkness exploded, revealing an unexpected figure rising from the void, a twisted reflection of Emily herself, eyes glinting with an unsettling, enthusiastic malice. "What is happening?" Clara screamed, her eyes darting between the darkness and the mirror image. Emily's breath caught as she faced her doppelganger, the personification of her hidden dread. The shadows had birthed a reality she never wanted to confront. "I'm not you!" she shouted, flinging herself forward, only to stumble back as the figure laughed, a sound filled with echoes of her own insecurities. "Then show me," it taunted, its voice a haunting mimicry of her own. "Show me what you truly desire. What are you willing to fight for?" As the light dimmed and darkness thickened around them, Emily felt panic grip her. The stakes had changed. They weren't just battling shadows, they had to face their own painful truths. "Can we do this?" she thought, glancing at Christopher and Clara, who stood gathered at her side, all determination. Emily felt the air shift. That chilling moment of clarity came like a thunderbolt. "We must. All of us." But was that enough? As the figure beckoned, laughter swirling in the air, Emily confronted the terrifying question, could they truly face their greatest fears and emerge unscathed? Or was the darkness about to consume them all? Emily's heart raced as she faced her doppelganger, its laughter echoing around her, drowning out the vibrant light they had summoned. "Show me," it whispered again, teasingly slow, as if savoring each word. The shadows twisted, creating a swirling vortex that wrapped around Christopher and Clara, pulling them tight against the walls of their fears. "Stick together!" Christopher shouted above the roar, but even his voice trembled under the weight of the dark figure looming before them. "I don't know what I want," Emily cried, her own voice cracking with frustration and fear. "What can I possibly fight for against this?" The twisted Emily grinned wider, revealing uncanny familiarity. "You don't want to hurt anyone, do you? Your desire to protect holds you back. Look at them, they're already in your shadow," it hissed. Emily turned, her heart sinking as she saw the shadows reaching toward Christopher and Clara, claws of despair trying to claw them away. "No!" she screamed, pushing her resolve through the choking darkness. "You're wrong." But as she spoke, flashes of guilt and regret flickered through her mind. Moments when she had faltered, when she had let them down. Doubts pooled in her chest like heavy stones. "Is your love enough?" the figure mocked, stepping closer with predatory grace. "They're nothing but your reflections, all you see are broken parts, shackled to your weakness." "No!" Emily screamed again, fighting against the swell of emotion threatening to drag her under. "We are stronger together." With every ounce of her will, she pressed forward, attempting to break through the dark energy that roiled around them like a storm. But she felt her own doubts take form, tentacles creeping along her arm, whispering lies in her ear. Then she saw a flicker of hope in Clara's eyes, even as the shadows frantically clawed at her feet. "Hold on to the light," Clara cried, her voice firm. "Fight for each other. Remember the bonds we forged." Inspired, Emily turned to Christopher. "What do you want? Who do you want to be?" she asked, desperation etching her features. Christopher hesitated, but in his eyes, she saw flickers of clarity. "I want to protect you too," he declared, and together, they filled the air with a surge of warmth, memories of carefree laughter washing over them. In that moment, their thoughts wove together a tapestry of love, promise, and unity that shimmered defiantly against the darkness. The shadows shuddered, faltering as the radiant warmth broke through. Now, Clara! Emily shouted, urging her friend to join in. I want strength. I want a future. Clara cried, her voice carrying with it the weight of all she had longed for. The twisted figure glared, its evident fury sparking like fire in the void. They'll hate you for this. It shrieked, sinister echoes filling the suffocating darkness. Let them try. Emily countered, the warmth expanding as they each rode the waves of their desires, solidifying their connection as the shadows collided against their light. But the doppelganger shimmered with dark glee, stretching impossibly wide, its final words ricocheting with a chilling promise. You've awakened the truth, but can you face what lurks behind it? A tremor shook the ground as the lights around them flickered, shadows merging into a singular, massive form, swirling up to engulf them. Emily gasped as reality shifted, colors swirling and blending, crafting a new scene. But where were they? Hope sparked within her, but dread clawed at her heart. She had pushed back against the dark, but the looming presence warned her that it wasn't over. Did we win? She asked, as the world shimmered like a mirage around them. The figure loomed threatening, consuming its laughter a haunting echo. No. This is only the beginning, it whispered, a chilling promise, and with that, doubt crept back in, entwining with their desire as the boundaries between hopes and fears began to blur once more. Could they survive the storm ahead? The swirling shadows receded, and the space around Emily, Christopher, and Clara suddenly shifted. They found themselves standing in a vast, desolate wasteland, the ground cracked and barren. A thick fog hung heavy in the air, carrying a suffocating silence that pressed against them from all sides. Emily squinted, trying to catch a glimpse of the horizon, but nothing broke the monotony of gray. What is this place? Clara whispered, her voice trembling. I don't know, but we need to stay together. Christopher urged, gripping Emily's arm tightly. The shadows of their fears had morphed into this unrecognizable world, and a chilling sensation crept down Emily's spine. A sudden chill swept over them, igniting Emily's fight-or-flight response. It's alive, she stammered, feeling the ground pulse beneath them. She could almost sense the energy swirling, trying to siphon their resolve. Can you feel it? Christopher said, his eyes wide with fear. It's like it wants to feed on us. Don't be scared. Clara urged, her voice steadier than she felt. If we can find the way out of this, we can beat it. We just have to push through, together. Together, Emily echoed, though doubt flickered in her mind. What would it take for her to find strength against this haunting void? She focused on Christopher and Clara, the memory of their shared laughter and hope lighting the dark corners of her heart, but it was then that the fog began to shift, taking on new forms. Faces emerged, twisted and distorted reflections of people Emily had known. Each visage was embedded with anguish and pain, slashing at her heart like jagged glass. No, why are they here? She gasped, stumbling backward. The lost expressions surrounded them, agitated and angry, as if demanding their attention, dragging them back into their own pasts. They're your fears. Your past. The doppelganger's voice boomed from somewhere deep in the fog. Can you confront them? Can you really stand against that which haunts you? Shut up. Clara yelled, stepping forward, forcing herself to look each shadow in the eye. You don't control us. Do you think they're powerless? The figure taunted, its dark echoes slicing through the sound of Clara's defiance. Every mistake, every ounce of regret fuels this land. You'll never escape it. Emily pulled Clara back gently, reading the anguish in her friend's eyes. Wait, she breathed, trying to grasp the depths of the situation. This is a mirror not just of the past, but of our very selves. As if in response, a deeper shadow loomed, darker than the others, rising above them like a storm cloud. Face yourself, Emily. Can you accept that you're flawed? That you've caused pain? No. Emily shouted, tears brimming her eyes. I can't let you twist my memories into burdens. But you must, or you'll be lost with them. A sickening twist churned in her stomach. Could she truly embrace her flaws? Were they even flaws, or merely part of the human experience? The shadows stirred, whispering her inadequacies like a morbid lullaby. "We need to turn this around," Christopher said, his voice sharp with determination. What if we own our truths? If we're going to fight, let us fight together, not just against this darkness, but through it. Together, Emily echoed again, eyes flickering with fresh sparks of understanding. The shadows swayed at their words, as if unsure of what to do next. "Accept me," she yelled, her voice breaking through the fog. "I'm not perfect. But I want to be better. I want this for us." She felt an electric tingle, the ground vibrating with her intent. Suddenly the faces of the past began to flicker, as if caught off guard by her acceptance. This wasn't surrender, this was reclaiming, but as the shadows recoiled, more figures began to rise from the depths. A massive silhouette formed behind them, growing larger and angrier. "What have you done?" it roared, its voice a quake that shook the very air around them. "You cannot escape your fate." Emily's heart raced. The destruction of her past was just the beginning of something far worse. Could they really seize their future? Desperation clawed at her throat. Before she could answer her own question, the ground beneath them began to quake violently, and the fog thickened again, muting the light of their hopes. "Brace yourselves!" Christopher shouted, pulling Clara close as Emily prepared for whatever storm was brewing, but within that swirling chaos came a piercing thought: how deep did their shadows go? And as the rumble escalated, she wondered, would acceptance be enough to save them, or had they crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed? The ground heaved beneath them, a violent tremor rippling through the cracked earth. Emily stumbled, clinging to Clara as Christopher steadied himself against the onslaught. The air grew thicker, the fog swirling tighter as if it were alive, wrapping around them like a suffocating blanket. "Stay close!" Christopher shouted, his voice strained above the chaos. Panic surged in Emily's chest as shadows narrowed around them, morphing and twisting, coiling like serpents hungry for their prey. "We can't let it consume us," Clara yelled, her voice cutting through the fear. "We have to focus." As Clara's words echoed, Emily shut her eyes, directing all her strength to the bonds that tied them. "Think of the moments that matter," she whispered, trying to center herself in the overwhelming darkness. Memories surged, their laughter on sunny days, the warmth of friendship that had once filled her heart. But just as hope flickered like a weak flame, a roar erupted from the shadows. The massive silhouette towered above them, its shadowy form pulsating with fury. "You dare to claim your truth? You're unworthy!" it bellowed. The ground shook violently, the sound echoing like thunder in a storm. "Emily, don't listen to it!" Christopher shouted, his face pale with fear. "It's trying to tear us apart." Her heart raced as she felt the crushing pressure of everything she'd ever feared. "But what if it's right?" she cried, her voice breaking. "What if we're just lost?" "Stop!" Clara snapped, her eyes blazing with fierce resolve. "We are not lost. We are fighting. We're a team, and we're stronger together." With those words, Clara stepped forward. The shadows wavered, drawn to her defiance. Steeling herself, she shouted, "I refuse to let you control me." Her voice rang through the chaos, a beacon in the gloom. Emily felt a jolt of inspiration. "Clara's right," she shouted, taking a step forward as well. "We own our stories, the good and the bad." The figures around them glared, their distorted faces morphing into menacing grins. "You think acceptance will save you? You're fools!" they hissed, their voices a cacophony of torment. But instead of cowering, Emily pressed on. "We want to be better. We dare to forge our path. We won't be haunted anymore." The tremor beneath their feet began to settle at her words, the shadows shimmering, as if caught in disbelief. "Can we really do this?" Christopher wondered aloud, his grip on Clara tightening. "Yes," she cried, her spirit igniting. We can change this. As resolve filled the air like a bright spark, the massive silhouette began to shrink. It writhed as if in agony, the shadows fracturing and splintering around them. Emily could feel the pull of the past weaken, the weight of regret and sorrow lifting, but just when she thought they might break free, an ear-splitting shriek erupted from the depths of the fog. You think you're free? You've only awakened me. Emily's heart sank. Was this really the end or just the beginning of something even worse? The fog swirled violently, obscuring the horizon, dread pooling at the bottom of her stomach like sludge. What now? She gasped, fear creeping back. Is it still coming for us? Just then, a new figure emerged from the fog, cloaked and silent, its presence sending chills down her spine. Who or what are you? Clara asked, her voice trembling. From the depths of the shadow, the figure lifted its face, revealing eyes that burned like coals. I am the keeper of your memories, both light and dark. You've set me free, and now the ground shook again, stronger, more ferocious this time. Emily could feel it in her bones, the dread coiling tighter, the essence of fear ready to burst forth. Before she could process the implications, the shadows began to meld around the new figure. What is happening? Christopher shouted, his eyes wide with terror. The figure lifted a hand, a swirling tempest of shadows whipping around. You have no idea what you've unleashed. Its voice resonated deeply, rippling through the air, filling it with an unnerving energy. Emily's mind raced. What had they awakened? And how could they ever hope to confront it? As the fog thickened once more, shadows pressed down around them, and Emily's breath caught as she murmured a question that echoed in the void, will we survive what we've provoked? In the heart of the chaos, uncertainty loomed larger than ever. The mist twisted like a serpent, swallowing Emily and her friends in dense silence. Shadows danced around them, growing closer, fingers reaching from the deep to pull them into darkness. Fear wrapped around their hearts, squeezing tighter with every second. What do we do? Clara's voice quivered as she stole glances at the cloaked figure, its eyes glowing with an unsettling red. Can we fight this? We've awakened something ancient, Christopher gasped, panic coloring his words. It's feeding on our fears. Emily's thoughts spiraled. The weight of the unknown pressed heavily against her chest. It said it's the keeper of our memories. If it has all of our dark moments, then how can we fight it? Despair punctuated her voice as the shadows swirled, creeping closer, drawn to her uncertainty. Think, Emily. Clara urged, grounding her. What if we confront those memories? What if we take back what is ours? Can it feed on us if we own these moments? It might work. Christopher shouted, inspiration striking him. If we stand together, we can show it that our memories don't define us. His eyes gleamed with determination, igniting the fire within them. Emily took a deep breath, recalling a painful moment from her past, a failure, a loss that had haunted her. I remember, the day I lost my mother, she said, her voice trembling. That emptiness, it felt like darkness swallowing me whole. The shadows paused, hesitating as she faced that memory, not with resignation but with strength. Clara stepped forward, her voice unwavering. I remember the day I didn't save my brother from that accident, she confessed, her eyes shining with tears. I thought I was stronger, but I wasn't. I couldn't change that moment, but I can choose to honor his memory instead of being shackled by guilt. Christopher closed his eyes, drawing upon his own painful recollections. I remember losing my best friend. I let my own fears stop me from saying goodbye, but I will hold on to the joy he brought me instead. There's power in remembering the good. The cloaked figure shifted as they spoke, its hold fluttering. You think your light will protect you? It hissed, its tone dripping with venom. You're merely using old stories to combat what I am. No. Emily shouted bravely. These stories are our truth. We find strength in how we choose to remember. The shadows flickered, the air crackling with their defiance, but the ground shook again, more violently than before. A rumbling echoed as if the figure was gathering its strength, reshaping the very earth beneath them. You think bias will shield you? You've ignited my wrath. The shadows erupted, pulsing toward them in a wild frenzy, a living storm bent on consuming them whole. Hold on! Clara screamed, grabbing onto Emily and Christopher. No matter what happens, we face this together. In a blinding flash, the shadows collided into a single, towering behemoth, dark and swirling, radiating an oppressive energy that enveloped them. Emily felt her heart race. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a battle for their very identities. Then, amid the chaos, a familiar face emerged, the shimmer of her mother's smile, her warmth extending as if to shield Emily from desolation. It brought a rush of hope crashing through her. Mom! Emily whispered, tears streaming down her face. You're here. Remember the light within, Emily, her mother urged, her voice a soothing balm amidst the fury. You control the story. With newfound resolve, Emily turned to Clara and Christopher. We're more than our pain. We're not this chaos. We want to let it consume us. The shadows hesitated, tangled in disbelief, flickering like candle flames in a draught. With each passing second, they began to lose their grip, shattering into fragments, but just as victory seemed within reach, a chilling silence fell. The cloaked figure loomed closer, its voice a menacing whisper in the dark. You may think you are brave, but I have another side, one that knows your deepest desires. You have only seen a glimpse of what I can awaken. A rush of dread washed over them, thick as molasses. Emily's heart sank again. What did that mean? What else did it hold on to, waiting to be unveiled? In that paralyzing moment of uncertainty, everything shifted. Prepare yourselves, the figure taunted, an ominous chuckle echoing in the void. You've awakened the storm, but now, you'll face the tempest. A new wave of shadows charged forward with fury, and Emily realized with horror that the fight had just begun. Would they have the strength to confront what lay beyond their darkest truths? As the darkness surged toward them, the air buzzed with tension, and all hope hung by a thread. What awaited them beyond this reckoning? The chamber crackled with tension, shadows swirling like angry brutes ready to pounce. Emily's heart raced as she fought to hold on to her courage. This is our fight. We've already come so far. She shouted, voice quaking yet resolute. The shadows blinked, for a fleeting moment caught off guard by her defiance. Together. Christopher echoed, his grip tightening on Clara's hand. Yes. Clara's voice soared, igniting the air with fervor. We are defined not by our fears but by our capacity to rise. And just like that, the trio shifted, their determination fusing into a blazing light. Emily closed her eyes, picturing her mother's soothing smile, each memory morphing into a buoyant shield against the relentless darkness. I remember love, she whispered, and laughter, how they wrapped around us like a warm embrace. The shadows staggered, flinching at the glow emanating from their unified will. A pulse of warmth surged through their hands, the force building momentum, illuminating the encroaching night. In a flurry of desperate energy, Emily shouted, we are more than our pain. No more. The ground trembled beneath them as the cloaked figure jerked violently, wrapped in agony. You cannot overpower your essence. It bellowed, but doubt seeped through its voice, exposing cracks within the armor of despair it adorned. Watch us. Christopher challenged, stepping closer to the swirling mass, defiance radiating off him. We choose joy. We choose strength. And they surged together, a choir of defiance filling the air. We choose love. The shadows shrieked, twisting into grotesque forms, recoiling from the brightness of their unity. Emily's heart thundered as bright tendrils of light erupted around them, the shadows thrashing, desperate to retreat. But the cloaked figure, brimming with dark malice, loomed larger than before. Its voice rumbled through the air, threatening and ominous. You awaken the storm, but can you withstand its wrath? Then there it was, an immense wave of smothering darkness surged up, crashing towards them like a tidal wave, intending to drown all their newfound resolve. Emily squeezed their hands tightly, the bond formed from shared pain and hope anchoring them against the tide. "We won't back down. No." The black mist howled as the three pushed forward, drawing on every cherished memory of love, trust, and warmth to form shields against the impending doom. And in that moment of epic confrontation, memories from years washed over them, a whirlwind of past joys and heartaches. Each recollection lit up the battlefield, giving rise to a swelling pulse of radiant energy. The dark figure writhed, a tortured scream escaping its mouth, as it tried to pull them in. "Hold tight," Clara yelled. "Don't let it win." Together, they roared, stepping into the light, amplifying their unyielding unity. Then, with a great rush, they hurled their collective will, the glow exploding outward, illuminating the obscured truths beneath the cloak of despair. "We see you," Emily shouted into the darkness, voicing every truth they had held on to, every scar, every memory, every love. The shadows trembled, flickering in the tempestuous light. The cloaked figure faltered, retreating as it felt the fierce burn of their combined resolve. "No. You cannot face me. I am the keeper of fate. You are nothing more than our fear." Christopher roared, each word a hammer striking against the chains binding them to the past. Then, in a blinding flash, they pivoted the darkness into a brilliant cyclone, a vortex of light forming at the center. Memories swirled around them like fireworks, illuminating every festering corner that had once held them captive. "Let us end this," Clara cried. Fueled by the harmonious strength of their shared voices, they thrust their light through the suffocating darkness, striking at the heart of the shadow. The shadow shrieked, bathed in the glow of truth. You will regret this." It howled, contorting and wavering, but the bonds of their mutual light entwined protection around them. And with that burst, the shadows shattered, splintering into 1,000 pieces, evaporating in the native light of their courage and hope. Silence followed, whispering through the vastness with an otherworldly calm. Emily, Christopher, and Clara opened their eyes to the gentle warmth of dawn breaking through, spilling light upon their faces. They stood, breathless in the new day, the air vibrating with the resonating triumph of their journey. Shadows faded into the past, the echoes of pain transforming into whispers of resilience. Tears of joy filled Emily's eyes, drenching her cheeks as she glowed with gratitude. "We did this. Together." Christopher grinned, relief flooding his spirit. "We survived." "Yes." Clara beamed, throwing her arms around them in an incandescent embrace filled with renewed hope. As the morning sun bathed their world in a golden hue, the mansion once coated in echoes of sorrow now gleamed with possibility. Each ray whispered promises of love, healing, and a future bursting with potential. Emily turned her face toward the light, her heart swelling with newfound freedom. Then, amid their shared laughter and the euphoria of liberation, a truth settled within them, a promise of brighter days ahead, shaped not by shadows but by the light they chose to share. And as they stepped forward, hand in hand, each knowing the weight of their struggles, they illuminated not only their future but also the path for countless others yearning for freedom. This was a story of hope, love, and courage. And it was just beginning. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and support the channel. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this epic conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this. Your support means everything. Let us keep this amazing community growing.